The ocean is not a landscape. It is a wilderness. It covers 70% of our planet, yet we treat it like a highway. We pave it with shipping lanes. We light it with navigation buoys. We convince ourselves that we have tamed it. But the ocean is patient, and it knows when we are alone. October 14th. The salvage tug Kestrel is 3 days out of Fiji, hunting for a lost container barge. The captain is tired. The coffee is cold. He is looking at a sector of the map that should be empty. But at 02 hours, the radar paints a target. It's not a whale. It's not a rogue wave. It is a structure. A steel island floating in the middle of nowhere. It is the MS Auriga Star, a luxury liner, a floating palace, and it is fully lit. Every deck is ablaze with electricity. The navigation lights are on. The festive string lights around the pool deck are twinkling. From a distance, it looks like a party in full swing. The salvage crew boards, expecting a mechanical failure. They expect to find a captain with a broken radio. Instead, they find silence. Not the silence of a tomb, the silence of a pause. They enter the crystal dining hall. The smell of roast beef and heavy reduction sauce hangs in the air. Look at the tables. Plates are full. Forks are resting on the edges of porcelain. Wine glasses are half empty, the lipstick stains on the rim still fresh. The music system is playing a loop of soft jazz. The air conditioning is humming. The ship is alive. But the 2,400 passengers? Gone. The 900 crew members? Gone. There are no bodies. There is no blood. There is no sign of a struggle. The Auriga Star is drifting in the Pacific with 3,000 ghost stories on board, and not a single soul left to tell them. To understand the disappearance, you must understand the illusion. The Auriga Star was not designed to be a vehicle. It was designed to be a narcotic. 130,000 tons of steel. 18 decks, 5 swimming pools, a theater that seats 1,000. It was a masterpiece of denial. Gyroscopic stabilizers are used to eliminate the roll of the waves. Satellite internet to keep you tethered to the shore. Redundant engines, redundant generators. The engineering goal was simple. Make the passenger forget the ocean exists, and it worked. Look at the manifest. The honeymooners, Sarah and Mike, 24 years old, posting photos of their towel animals, drunk on love and the all-inclusive bar. The retirees, the Davidsons, celebrating 40 years of marriage, seeking a quiet sunset. The crew, the invisible gears of the machine, men and women from 50 nations living below the waterline, keeping the illusion running. They bought a ticket for paradise. They trusted the steel. They trusted the brochure. They didn't realize that a cruise ship is just a golden cage. And when the lock breaks, the luxury doesn't save you. It just makes for a prettier coffin. The investigation revealed that the Auriga Star wasn't just at sea. It was crossing the Desolation Zone. This is the South Pacific Gyre, a place where currents die and life struggles to exist. They were approaching a coordinate known as Point Nemo. This is the most isolated point on the surface of the Earth. If you are sailing here, the nearest human beings to you are not in Chile, and they are not in New Zealand. They are on the International Space Station, orbiting 250 miles above your head. And then there is the depth. Beneath the keel of the Auriga Star, there is no continental shelf. There is no shallow reef. There are 14,000 feet of black water. This is the triggering mechanism of thalassophobia, the realization of scale. If you fall overboard here, you don't just drown, you vanish. You sink through the epipelagic zone, into the twilight zone, into the midnight zone. The pressure builds. The temperature drops to near freezing. On the night of October 12th, the Auriga Star was a tiny, fragile bubble of light floating over a chaotic, indifferent abyss. The passengers were eating their roast beef. The jazz was playing. But outside the glass, the universe was dark, deep, and waiting. And at 2 a.m., something knocked. We reconstruct the final hours of the Auriga Star not through black boxes, but through the cloud. The digital footprint of the passengers tells a story of eerie perfection. 48 hours after departure, the ship entered a meteorological anomaly. The wind died completely. Sailors call it the doldrums. The passengers called it the glass sea. Look at the water. No white caps, no ripples, just a limitless mirror reflecting the sun. But perfection is unsettling. Interviews with the shoreside families reveal a shift in tone. Texts sent via satellite Wi-Fi changed from having a blast to it's too quiet. The air was stagnant, heavy, hot. The ship was cutting through a vacuum. Below deck, the mood was darker. Old sailors are superstitious. They know that a calm sea is a hiding place. The ocean was holding its breath, and the Auriga Star was waiting for the exhale. Day 3, 11 p.m. The first fracture in reality. According to the AIS tracking data, the Auriga Star performed an emergency deceleration. In 2 minutes, it went from a cruise speed of 22 knots to a drift of 4 knots. You only do that if you are about to hit something. But look at the satellite data. There were no storms. There were no other ships within 500 miles. The ocean was empty. So, what did they stop for? We recovered the audio from the bridge voice recorder. Listen closely to the first officer. It's not on the charts. It's huge. Was it a rogue wave? A surfacing submarine? Or something the radar saw that the human eye couldn't comprehend? Whatever it was, the ship stopped. And it never moved under its own power again. At exactly 02 a.m., the heart of the ship stopped beating. The VDR records a total catastrophic failure of the main electrical grid. The engines died, the navigation systems died, the lights died. Imagine you are in an interior cabin on deck 4. You are the cheapest ticket class. You have no window. When the power goes out, you are not just in the dark. You are in a sensory deprivation tank, buried deep inside a steel labyrinth. The emergency lights should have kicked in. They didn't. For 9 minutes, the Auriga Star was a tomb. And in that silence, you start to hear things. You hear the hull groaning under the pressure of the water. You hear footsteps running in the corridor. You hear screaming, but you can't tell if it's coming from the deck above or from inside the walls. At 2:15 a.m., the emergency backup generators sputtered to life. The cameras rebooted. The footage recovered from the hard drives is fragmented, but it shows us the anatomy of panic. We see passengers from the lower decks streaming toward the stairwells. But analyze their movement. They aren't running efficiently, they are running blindly. And they are running up. Usually, you run up to escape water, but the sensors confirm the hull was intact. There was no leak. So what were they running from? Whatever was happening, it started at the bottom of the ship and worked its way up. And then, we found this file. File 09C, a crew member on deck 6. He isn't helping passengers. He is locking the bulkhead door. From the outside, he trapped them down there. Was he trying to stop the water, or was he trying to stop something else from getting to the upper decks? Standard maritime protocol. In an emergency, you go to your muster station. You board a lifeboat. You wait for rescue. But when the salvage crew arrived, they counted the boats. 18 port side, 18 starboard side. All present. All accounted for. If 3,000 people abandoned ship, they didn't use the boats. Think about the psychology of that. The ship is your only island of safety. The ocean is death. To make 3,000 people leave the ship without a boat, the terror inside the ship must have been greater than the terror of the water. They didn't evacuate. They fled. At 2:45 a.m., the radio silence broke for 6 seconds. This transmission was not directed to the Coast Guard. It was an open broadcast on an emergency frequency. It is the last recorded voice of Captain Holloway. Do not look at the water. Why? Was it a biological contamination causing mass hallucinations? Was it the call of the void, a psychological contagion where the urge to jump becomes irresistible? Or did the captain see something rising from the abyss? Something that glowed blue? The transmission cuts, the ship goes dark, and the 3,000 souls on board enter the gray area between history and myth. The sun rose at 6 a.m., and the machine woke up. The autopilot, detecting no input, re-engaged the course for Tahiti. The automated systems in the galley turned on the ovens. The coffee machines brewed fresh pots for the morning rush. The ship was warm. It smelled of breakfast. It was sailing perfectly on course. But there was no one to eat the food, no one to steer the wheel. Just a ghost ship, drifting through the Desolation Zone, carrying nothing but luggage and silence. We want to believe in sea monsters because monsters have intent. Monsters can be fought, but the ocean doesn't need monsters to kill a city. It just needs chemistry. Theory A is the rogue bubble. Deep beneath the Pacific floor lie massive deposits of methane hydrate, frozen gas trapped in high-pressure ice. If a tectonic shift cracks that seal, the gas releases instantly. When a gigaton bubble hits the surface, two things happen. First, the density of the water drops. A ship is designed to float on water, not on foam. If the bubble is big enough, the ship loses buoyancy and drops like a stone. But the Auriga Star didn't sink. So look at the second effect. The gas. Methane is lighter than air. It rises. It creates a suffocating cloud that envelops the ship, displacing the oxygen. The panic we saw on the CCTV, that wasn't fear. That was hypoxia. The passengers were suffocating. They ran to the upper decks not to escape a monster, but to gasp for breath, only to walk into a poisonous cloud that knocked them unconscious and swept them over the rail. Or perhaps the poison wasn't in the air. Perhaps it was in the sound. Recall the captain's last words. It's vibrating. This brings us to Theory B, the frequency of fear. 19 hertz. This is the resonant frequency of the human eyeball. A massive underwater soliton wave, or a malfunctioning diesel engine, can generate intense infrasound. You can't hear it, but your body feels it. Research shows that 19 hertz causes dread, sorrow, and visual hallucinations. It vibrates the fluid in your eyes, causing you to see shadowy shapes in your peripheral vision. Imagine 3,000 people trapped in a metal box, vibrating at the frequency of madness. They didn't see ghosts. They saw the vibration of their own retinas. A collective psychotic break where the ship felt like a trap and the dark ocean looked like the only way out. But we cannot ignore the psychology of the Desolation Zone. The French call it l'appel du vide, the call of the void. 3 days of dead calm, the glass sea. Isolation acts like a pressure cooker. Psychologists suggest a contagion of hysteria. One person jumps, then another. Panic is a virus, and on a ship, there is nowhere to quarantine. The blue light the captain saw? Likely a mass delusion triggered by stress, or perhaps a toxic algal bloom in the water supply. In this theory, the Auriga Star became a cult of suicide. They didn't vanish, they surrendered. But the Oracle Investigates does not deal in ghosts or madness. We deal in evidence, and the evidence points to a purely physical tragedy. The verdict: stabilizer failure combined with a rogue wave. The huge object on the radar was a rogue wave. A 100-foot wall of water was generated by the interference patterns of the ocean currents. It hit the ship at 2 a.m. The impact didn't capsize the ship, but it caused a violent roll, a list of 40 degrees. This explains the blackout. The sensors tripped the generators to prevent an electrical fire. This explains the panic. The passengers rushed to the upper decks, but they were on the open deck in a storm. The blue light? That was bioluminescence, plankton churned up by the violence of the wave. When the ship rolled back, or when the second wave hit, the deck was washed clean. The ocean committed the perfect crime. It washed the evidence away. The passengers didn't vanish into a dimension. They were swept into the dark. And the most horrifying part? The lifeboats were useless. There was no time to lower them. They drowned in the freezing water, treading water, watching their brightly lit automated palace sail away on autopilot, leaving them behind in the silence. The Auriga Star was towed back to port. They replaced the carpets. They updated the firmware on the radar. They renamed the ship. It is sailing right now. You can book a ticket for $800. We build steel cities to defy the water. We install Wi-Fi and buffets to mock the food chain. But the water is patient. It was here before us, and it will be here after us. So the next time you're on the night watch and you look over the railing into the black water, don't ask what happened to the passengers of the Auriga Star. Ask yourself, how long can you tread water? Are you afraid of the water, or are you afraid of what's in it? Subscribe to The Oracle Investigates.